Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this industry connection with Church Mutual. If you didn't know, you can take a look behind me. Before I pass things over to our wonderful guest, I just want to mention a few upcoming webinars that we have. There's always something going on with the ACT, um, as you likely know, but just a few that I want to highlight. Coming up later this month, we have a members-only roundtable on successful strategies for season subscriptions. We know that that's changing, and what that looks like for the modern ticket buyer is a little bit different than it has been traditionally. So you can hear from different executive directors, marketing leaders of community theaters to learn what they're doing that's working for them. Coming up on November 7th, our next virtual masterclass is Making Immersive Theater with Chris Hamby, who has studied immersive theater, has received grants to study, and has produced several successful events at his theater in Arizona. Information on all the upcoming webinars at aact.org/webinars. But time is limited, so I want to pass things over to Adam and Krista as soon as possible. Real quick, though, as Winston said as you were filing in, go ahead and open that Q&A box you see at the bottom of your Zoom window if you're watching on Zoom. If you're watching on social media, you can use the comments for questions. Make sure if you're on Zoom, make sure you type the questions in the Q&A, not the chat. Time is limited, and we want to make sure we get to all of them. So that's the best way to do it. If someone asks a question that you also want the answer to, give it an upvote, and that will tell us that it's super important, and we'll make sure we get to it in time. All righty. I will pass things over to Adam and Krista. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. We appreciate the partnership with ACT, and we are glad to be here. Our presentation today is Curtain Up on Safety, Protecting Your Community Theaters. Next. Just wanted to introduce myself and Adam quickly. My name is Krista Christensen. I am the Affinity Relationship Manager here at Church Mutual. I've been with Church Mutual now going on about 12 years, and in this role for almost 8 years. And part of my role is to work with all of our different affinity programs across the nation here at Church Mutual. Adam, want to give? Okay. So Adam will introduce himself in a little bit, but I kind of background on Church Mutual is we have actually been around for more than 125 years. And one of the big things is we are specialized in insurance for those who serve and inspire others. Around May of 2023, we became the endorsed property and liability insurance carrier for the American Association of Community Theaters, and are very excited about that partnership and want to continue to see it grow. One of the many benefits that we offer your program is an upfront savings, that is about a 5% discount on your package policies, and that would be allowed in states where allowed by law. But one of the big things, and this is where I'm going to introduce Adam, another great benefit that we offer is our risk control services. And Adam's going to talk more in regards to what your program can get, or what you and your program can get from a risk control standpoint. So thank you, and thank you again for having us. We're glad to be here.
All right, thanks, Krista, and thank you all for the invitation today. I'm pleased to be here representing Church Mutual Insurance, and so excited. I'm going to give a little bit more of a personal introduction than I normally do, because yes, I am on the insurance side, but I've been a lifelong fan of theater, especially community theater, and that all started in high school when I did lights and sound. I was a little too nervous to go up on stage. But did lights and sound. I was a music major. I have a degree in audio engineering. And now when I travel the country visiting our nonprofit and human service customers, I try and see shows whenever I can. I'm sharing the photo on the left, not that the Rogers Theater on Broadway is a community theater, but to show you a picture of my two sons. They're 4 and 2. They run around my house not singing Raffi songs, but they sing Les Mis and other songs that they're hearing from myself and my wife. My wife's pictured in the top middle. She's been doing community theater her whole life and is trying to convince me to join her on stage one of these years, and it will happen. And my brother-in-law also, he's in the right circle on the upper right. He's now won 2 Tony Awards for his work on a play called The Inheritance and a musical called Hadestown. He was involved in the production of that. But most importantly and personally, I'm so excited that my son participated in his first session of children's theater this summer. And not to brag, but he had 2 lines and he got them both correct. So proud dad moment. So excited there. But my professional background, I've spent the last 20 years leading nonprofits, largely in the youth development space in summer camp and after school programming. And I'm so excited to be able to take a moment to talk to you all about ways in which you may be able to improve your risk management and spend more of your time focusing on your mission and serving the community in the great ways that you do, and less time on claims and property damage and injuries. Those are not the fun things we want you to focus on. We want you providing your mission to the community. And I'll also add, we have a short time here today, so I'm going to cover a lot of topics. I'm going to be, to use a cliche, an inch deep, a mile wide, throwing a lot of questions out at you. If I can get you to just think about one thing and take away one thing today, I will have considered it a success. But also, I'm going to be sharing a diverse topic of risks and risk management techniques. So if they don't apply to you, I give you permission to take what you want, ignore the rest. And if there's something you want more of a deep dive on, please feel free to reach out to me afterwards. I'll leave my email in the chat, and happy to do a deeper dive with you after the fact. So we're going to talk about what drives claims, some risk management focus areas. What I think is so important is the development of a safety committee. And I'll share right at the end some safety resources and some third-party services that you can work with. So for our nonprofit human service customers, the loss causes that what drives the insurance claims, the highest frequency, so the things that happen the most, are employee accidents, auto accidents, slips, trips, and falls. So it's probably something you all know. This is not rocket science here, what I'm sharing, but I'm trying to hopefully get across today to take an intentional moment today, as well as in the future, for risk management, so we can prevent these things that happen the most often. Cumulatively, the losses in total dollars that are the highest are employee injuries and auto accidents, and as well as freeze events. And then the individual claims that have the highest cost in terms of dollars are those fire, freeze events, auto accidents, and severe weather. So we're going to talk about these different topics here, ranging from fire preparedness to abuse prevention and youth programming. And as I mentioned, I don't have a lot of time to share a lot of detail on these, but I'm going to be leaving resources with you all. And after the fact, we're going to be providing a resource to AACT to share along with this webinar, with just dozens of links where you can go do a deeper dive in these areas. So starting with fire prevention, when I go visit our nonprofit customers and theaters that we insure, some of the things we look for are annual inspections of all your fire systems. So that might include sprinklers, fire alarms, fire extinguishers. If you have a kitchen, do you have a hood system, an Ansel system? Are those being inspected? Emergency lights, curtains, fire doors, are those being inspected, operated, looked at on an annual basis, if not more often? Scenery construction, we look for the location of that. Is it done in a well-ventilated area, an area free of combustible materials, especially if you're doing things like metal grinding or welding? And also look at who is conducting those activities. Are they veteran tradespersons, or is it someone like me who's volunteering for the weekend to help build scenery? There's certainly an element of higher risk when you take a lay person like myself who's volunteering to help and use tools that I might not be used to. So those are some of the questions we ask when we visit. And so I would ask you all to just kind of take this moment and do an assessment. Is there an opportunity to improve that or provide an orientation that's stronger to prevent fire? And is there a formal evacuation plan in place? Is it rehearsed? You have multiple exits. Have you done an assessment with the power cut, for example, and see what your egress might look like? So our recommendations is, in terms of fire prevention, is to start with your local fire department and offer them, have coffee or subs or donuts, pizza one day, and ask them to come out and provide a thorough assessment of your theater. If you're being proactive about your fire prevention, my guess is your local fire department would be happy to come alongside you and help out to protect the public. The development of a safety committee, we're going to talk about it in detail a little bit later. And then rehearsal of evacuations. So well, I see this commonly missed when I visit our insured organizations. And I'm not suggesting on opening night before the curtain goes up that you rehearse evacuation with a full house of patrons, but could you offer an annual evacuation rehearsal where you offer VIPs a tour backstage and your offices and your other facilities? And if you can get 20 or 30 people in the building and sit them all in one section, you could rehearse an evacuation in that section and then move to another section and rehearse and find out what those unknown unknowns are when you're evacuating, where the pain points might be, and see if there are opportunities for improvement. And finally, we have a self-assessment. There's a QR code on screen. If you can't get to that, we will be sharing these links in a different document later. The Church Mutual self-assessments are a great tool to share with your organization, and I recommend sharing them at multiple levels of the organization. These are questions you would ask yourself to see if you're doing things right, if you're doing some things okay, and are there things you haven't even thought of yet. And by sharing these across the board, you might all come back with common areas that you haven't thought of. That's a great opportunity for improvement. And there also might be some things that your leadership think you're doing a great job of, and your frontline staff or volunteers don't think you're doing a good job. So now you've identified an area, an opportunity for communication improvement. So we have these self-assessments in a number of different topics that we'll be sharing with you all. And when it comes to fire prevention, please don't forget about electrical inspections. And I'm not just talking about spotlights or your stage lights and your audio systems and the big important electrical systems, but are you looking at dressing rooms? Are you looking at offices? Do you have multi-purpose space? And completing a thorough, proactive electrical inspection to look for electrical fire risks, especially in the older buildings. We recommend at least every 5 years to have a licensed electrician come in and do a thorough electrical inspection. And that would not mean someone from the code enforcement agency coming through and saying, hey, you're good to operate this year, or an electrician coming in and fixing a light because it's flickering, but to take a moment and do a thorough inspection of the entire facility. Would also recommend to assess your use of extension cords and power strips. So they're great tools, but we look, when I visit an organization, I look for extension cords that are being used in a permanent way. And we don't like to see that. So if they're used temporarily, rolled up, put back away, that's fine. But we walk around with these infrared cameras to look for elevated fire risk. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but this is from a few weeks ago. An organization, well, it's not showing up great on camera, but an organization was using extension cords in a permanent capacity and was able to show them that where the cords connected, it was over 100 degrees warmer than the ambient air, and it potentially is working towards a fire risk. So, and same thing with power strips, plugged into power strips, plugged into a splitter, plugged into an extension cord. So if you're seeing things like that pop up around your facility, consult with a local electrician and see if you can come up with a safer solution. When it comes to water damage, and like I said, I'm covering a lot here, so we're going to be switching from topic to topic pretty quickly. When it comes to water damage, please check regularly. So depending on your climate, that might mean quarterly, it might mean monthly, it might mean weekly, it might mean after each rain event. But if you can identify a water damage either from a roof leak or a pipe leak when it's small, that's going to save you so much hassle, so much time, so much money. It will reduce your insurance claims, which will hopefully keep your premiums positive in the future. So we recommend annual roof inspections by a licensed roofer and plumbing inspections as well. And then a freeze prevention plan. And I'm not just talking to the folks in the Northeast and the upper Midwest, but we've certainly seen freeze events happen in places like Georgia and Texas and in between. I know hurricanes are on the mind right now, as they should be, but it's never too early to start assessing your freeze prevention plan. So what are you doing outside your facility, inside your facility in a proactive way? And what is your plan if the temperature drops? What is your plan if you discover a frozen pipe? Do you have your procedures in place before that happens? One thing that can really help with a freeze prevention plan are the use of sensors. And for Church Mutual customers, and I should share, I'm not a salesperson. I'm here to sell you on risk management steps. So anything I share with you about Church Mutual is from a risk management standpoint here today. The CM sensor program is free for Church Mutual customers, and it's a water and temperature sensor system that can detect extreme temperatures or water in your facility. So this might be great if your facility is closed for a few days or nobody's there around a holiday, and you can get an alert if a pipe bursts. And you could imagine the difference of responding to a burst pipe when it's been leaking for 20 minutes as opposed to 3 days. The size and cost of that damage is going to be dramatically different. So if you are a Church Mutual customer, please sign up for these kits. They're free. We want to see you use them. If you use somebody else, reach out to your property insurer. They may have a system. There's also public-facing companies that sell these that can be used in homes and things. So sensors are a cheap, easy tool to use to up your game with water and freeze prevention. Severe weather preparedness. I could do a full session on hurricane preparedness or earthquake or wildfire preparedness, but I know I'm speaking to a group from diverse places here. So the one thing I want to share with you all that I think is the most important is to think of the severe weather that's possible in your geography, but doesn't happen all that often, or maybe you've never seen it in your lifetime, but it is possible. So, if I go to Southern California, they're probably going to have, you'll have great plans about earthquakes. If I go to the Northeast, you'll probably have great plans about freezing. But have you considered, if you're in the Northeast, tornado and earthquakes, even though they might be less frequent or smaller in scale, having a policy in place before it strikes is so important. So you know what to do when it happens. And you can visit churchmutual.com/weather. These resources are free for everybody, not just our customers. To get some templates, you may also reach out to some folks within the association who are in different climates and have different severe weather, and see if maybe you can borrow from each other some policies and procedures that are more likely in their neck of the woods, and you can apply to yours. As we saw early on, slips, trips, and falls are one of the most frequent things that we see, certainly in theaters, whether it's workers or patrons or volunteers. So slips and falls, there's a lot of different ways to assess those, to respond to them. It's a constant battle with your facility as things deteriorate and break down and weather comes in. We have to be on top of this all times. What I'd like to share today is are you conducting walkthroughs purposefully looking for slip, trip, and fall risk? If not, this could be a great opportunity for you to improve your risk management. So that might mean monthly walking through your facility inside and outside, simply looking for slip, trips, and fall risk. So not necessarily looking at your phone where you have an inbox that is just full all the time and you're carrying scenery and there's 3 people who are asking you to respond to a crisis or answer questions, but to take a purposeful moment every month and walk your facility. Also consider alternating between day and night when you do this walkthrough. So your slip, trip, and fall risks are going to look different when the sun is shining, when the moon is shining, when it's a dark night, when your lights are working or not working outside. And are you walking the sidewalks? Are you walking the parking lots? We have a great self-assessment. We also have parking lot and sidewalk inspection logs that we see organizations hang up right by the salt bucket and the shovel. And daily, as the sidewalks are assessed and the parking lots are assessed, you can quickly inspect and check off and keep on file that you've done that. So if you were to ever have a lawsuit for someone falling outside, you can show that you've done your due diligence, you've inspected daily or weekly or monthly, and what you've inspected for and the actions you've taken to create a safe place. So it may be an accident, there may be an injury, but you can show that it's not negligence on your part. Have you considered cameras pointing at the outside of your facility, the sidewalks, the parking lots? Those could help with some fraud prevention in the event that members of the public see a theater as a never-ending source of money, and maybe they can take advantage of that, even though we know that funding is always a challenge. that may not be the perception. So cameras pointing at the outside might help you. Have you talked with your ushers, your volunteers, your staff to keep an eye out for canes and umbrellas and crutches not being in the aisles as folks are filing into your shows? Are your loading docks clearly marked? Are there safety barriers in place? Have you assessed those areas? And one example I saw in a theater, they were having a few too many work comp claims with staff loading in and on strike with a stairway right by their loading dock. They had 1 or 2 stairs to go through. They changed that to a ramp, and that solved a lot of their problems, so that these folks weren't lifting, bending, twisting heavy objects, but they were using dollies to get them up and down the ramp. So that's going to be different for every organization, but would recommend that you do that assessment purposefully and regularly. Security and active violence. Have you evaluated the security that you have? Do you allow them to carry weapons? Have you assessed that? Your emergency planning, metal detectors, camera systems. We recommend a program called ALICE training that stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. I kind of view it unofficially as the next level from a run, hide, fight sort of training. So we offer on our website and YouTube page, there's a free hour workshop ALICE training program. So if it's something you're considering, you can watch it on our website, see if it's for you. And if it is, there's a training program that goes around the country. You can also do a 2-day train the trainer program and excuse me, go receive training and then become a certified trainer. You can train folks within your organization on the ALICE principles. I know that costs time and money, so I would recommend if you can't do that, reach out to your local police department and see if they might walk your facility and assess your security and your protocols, your procedures. And for those of you looking to upgrade your security, there is a grant that's offered by FEMA. It's the FEMA Site and Security Grant. It's been going on, I think, 3 years now, and I suspect it'll be around next year as well. I don't work for FEMA, so take that for what it's worth. But I think early in the year, they offer webinars on how to apply, and then the funding is administered by different state agencies. So it's different in each state. But I've seen some organizations we insure be successfully awarded grants through this for improvements to doors, door locks, hardening of glass in the lobby area, cameras, the IT to support the cameras, metal detectors, all that sort of stuff. If you're looking at improving, consider the FEMA Site and Security Grant. And then as someone who worked in youth development, I'm very passionate about abuse prevention. So for those of you who offer programming with youth, please take a moment to reflect and evaluate your abuse prevention policies. So are you restricting one-on-one interactions between adults and children? So the old rule of 3. Do you have policies and procedures and background checks in place for all of your staff who not only work with youth, but who might interact with youth indirectly, or who might be in your facility when youth are present? So this is an area I think I see when I visit some theaters that it's an opportunity for improvement. So if this is true for you, please feel to reach out. I'd be happy to help you on this. Some resources we do have. There's an 84-question sexual abuse prevention self-assessment. I think it's very thorough. It does a really good job. So check this link out and run it through your how it applies to your organization. Also on the Church Mutual website, we partner with a company called Abuse Prevention Systems, and they have 2 absolutely free tools that I would recommend. One, it's a 12-page policy and procedure template. It's in a Word document form, so it's easy to grab and apply to your organization. It's a great way to compare that to your policies and see if maybe you have an opportunity for improvement. They also have a 2-hour workshop that is free. And I recommend anyone, like I said, who works with youth, who works in the building when youth are present, to go through this 2-hour workshop, volunteers, staff, anybody. If that's impossible for you for whatever reason, I would recommend someone in your organization goes through that 2-hour training so you can identify ways in which to improve. And one of the last things I'm going to talk about here today is the development of a safety committee. When I look at organizations who didn't have a safety committee and then implemented a really strong one, you can just see the graph of their insurance claims just drops off. So this is probably my highest recommendation of things you can apply today, is to develop a safety committee or to strengthen the safety committee you have if you have one already. And a few recommendations there is to make sure that it's not just the C-suite, not just the leadership, but you have all levels of the organization represented. So leadership, frontline staff, volunteers, board members, new folks, veteran folks, all on this committee, and then set regular meetings. If you're just getting started, I would recommend quarterly safety committee meetings with an agenda and minutes that are written, they're kept on file to demonstrate due diligence and demonstrate where you started and where you're headed. But those regular meetings, a suggested agenda might be, item number one might be an incident review process of looking back the last 3 months and looking at incidents, accidents, and reviewing them, coming up with ways to improve. A second agenda item might be the development of a proactive communication piece that you could share as an email or a newsletter to your community. And a third item might be a walk of the property, where you pick a different focus each meeting. That might be slip, trip, and fall. It might be security, it might be fire, property damage, water damage, any safety concerns. So highly recommend a safety committee, and we will share some links for tools that can help you with that. churchmutual.com/safety. There's a lot of information there that you can go if you're looking for any templates, checklists, more information on a particular hazard. Please visit that website. We also have a list of our trusted third-party vendors. And if you're really interested in risk management, the Church Mutual blog, subscribe to it. We send out risk management materials frequently, and some of that might be related to things you're doing and could be very helpful and give you some insightful thoughts on what you're working on. So I'm just going to pause for any questions and open the chat, make sure I didn't miss any. I don't think I've seen anything come in yet. I don't know if there's anything coming in from Facebook that you'd like to share. I think we just have like 2 minutes left here.
Nothing in the land of Facebook on my end here, so I do believe it's you guys. Oh, we just got one from Madeline inside the Q&A.
All right, for the states that we're not writing policies in, we do write in all 50 states. There is some restrictions in certain states. I would say the states where the restrictions are currently is Louisiana and Texas. But we do look at the policies and can potentially, if find a policy place for you.
There's a question, do you write work comp in California? My previous organization, I was the executive director of a nonprofit that utilized Church Mutual for work comp in California. So unless things have changed, I believe that's still the case.
Yes, we still do.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my email in the chat. So if anyone has any questions or would like some help with a deeper dive, please feel free to reach out. And I really appreciate your time today. And I do have to take an opportunity here, because this is probably the only time that a risk management professional can say these words, and it's appropriate. But I just want to wish you all the best of luck and break a leg. Okay. So I'm not seeing any other questions. So like I mentioned, we will share these resources. I'm not sure if anyone from AACT would like to share how they might be shared with you all. But I really appreciate your time, and hope our paths cross in the theater soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adam and Krista. And anyone watching this video will be available on our social media pages, as well as our website, AACT.org, on our YouTube page, so you can rewatch if you missed anything and take notes. Like I mentioned at the beginning, AACT.org/webinars if you want to stay up to date on all the upcoming events we have, with member-only roundtables, virtual masterclasses, and other industry connections. But for now, we just want to give another thank you to Adam and Krista for sharing with us today, and we'll see you at another ACT event soon.